This tutorial is going to go through using Illustrator, just the basics of using it. So we're going to do create new, and then we'll do print up on top, and then you can choose letter. It's going to be default in points, but we can switch it to inches. Sometimes it's just nice to visualize it that way. You can choose your orientation and name it right away. So this is Skill Builder 4. All right, then we're going to say OK, and we're going to start working with this. Okay, so there is a tutorial through here. You're welcome to check it out because Adobe has really great tutorials on how things work. So this is just showing you the down arrow and then adding new artboards, so your space is set up really differently in Illustrator. So go ahead and look at those tutorials if that helps you. And then, so here's our artboard right now. We've got our toolbar on the left side over here. We've got properties and our palettes over here. I suggest that you switch from Essentials to Essentials Classic. I think it brings out a lot more options with your tools and your toolbars, so you can always switch that up on top. And then we're going to start with just some basic shapes. So on the top on our options bar, it's going to tell us all about what we're doing right now. A couple of things to know is your palettes or your colors, your fill is right here, and then your stroke or your border is underneath. So when you click the arrow here, that's just going to switch the color. If you press X, it'll actually switch which one you're going to be changing the color for. So whichever one is in front is the one that you're going to be changing the color for. Okay, so we'll see that as we go through it. All right, we're going to start with the rectangle tool. So click over here. When we click and drag, it's going to create our shape. Right now our fill is white, so when you double click on that, you can choose your color. There's also a color palette over here. So right now when I click on the palette, I'm just going to see some hues that I could go through and choose. I can expand this. There's two little arrows right here. I can expand this, and then I have a lot more choices. I can double click here to go in the color picker, or I can choose some hues from here and adjust the CMYK. So the black, the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black through there. Whenever you see this line, it's going to be no fill, okay, or none. We also have that down here as well. So choose a color, and then you can click on your border. You can see that brings it up as well. You can choose a color for your border. Right now, the border is really small, but over in the properties on the right side, we've got the stroke. You can make that bigger or smaller there. All right, so we've got a rectangle here. Same thing, you can choose your other shapes. I do want you to make an ellipse. You got a rectangle, a perfect circle, ellipse. Go ahead and change that color. You can choose from the palette here, the swatches, excuse me, or you can choose from the palette, and then change the stroke for now as well. So I'm going to choose a different color. All right, then your different options for selection tools. The regular selection, the black selection, is going to allow you to move things, change size, so I would hold shift to keep that proportionate. It does, just like we saw before, it's got this circle here where you can click and drag and make that circular. And if you do that and you want to undo it, you can just click and drag out. Okay. Then underneath here is the direct selection. When you click on it, you've got to click on the object. With the direct selection, right now I know that when I change this or move it, it's going to move the entire object because each of my anchor points is blue. But when I click on one anchor point, you can see my other ones turn to white, and I can click and drag, and then I can shift this around. Okay, so that's going to allow us to do many different things and create our whole new objects because of this. So just be aware of which one you're clicking on, though. Okay. Okay, so we've made shapes before. That's kind of how they work. Similar to this, this also has those direct selections when we use the direct selection on the anchor points here. They have handles. We'll get to those handles later, but know that we can change, move, manipulate pieces in there. All right, so right now I want you to have your rectangle. I want you to have a circle. And then I want you to duplicate your circle. So you can do, in Illustrator, if you hold down Control and Alt, you'll see that I have a black arrow and a white arrow showing up. If I click and drag, that's a quick way to duplicate it. Okay, your other option would be Control C, Control V. Your choice, but Control plus Alt is gonna duplicate it. What I want you to do is I want you to arrange your two circles and on top of each other. So when you click and drag and you see the line of how they're gonna overlap, I want you to have kind of this football shape. Okay, so one circle on top of the other. We want them to be aligned directly. So when I click and drag, I'm gonna select both of them and I can do the align center, okay? So I'll show you that if they're not aligned. So click and drag and then align center, aligns them up exactly, and I can kind of see where they're gonna overlap. In our Pathfinder, the Pathfinder is super cool. We're going to be able to make new shapes with the Pathfinder. So one part of the Pathfinder is Unite. That just unites those two together, and now they're just one path. The next one over is minus front. So the one that's on top, because they're layered, is like a cookie cutter. So it came in and cut it out, and now I have this half moon shape. Next one here is intersect. And so where those two paths, right here, we can see that blue line and then the edge of one here where those intersect, that's gonna make our new path. And then the last one is exclude, that's gonna take out part of it. Okay, so it's a great way to create new shapes that way. What I want you to do is have both of these selected, click and drag, and then I want you to do the intersect, and where you made this new shape, kind of a football shape. All right, now we're gonna create this, just as a demo to play with, we're gonna create this a fish shape. So we can use multiple different shapes to create something new. So we've got kind of our football shape for the body. Then we'll come over to the polygon tool. For this, if you double click on it, so I just double clicked on my artboard, it's gonna ask me sides. So for a triangle, I want 3 sides. I'm gonna say okay, it makes it for me, and I can come and go to the corner, hover over so I see the curved arrow keys, and I can, I'm going to use up my regular selection, and then it can angle it. So angle it, let's angle it, I'm going to keep curving this. So if you hold shift, it'll snap it to certain degrees. We're going to try and get to 90 degrees here. And then it looks like we kind of have a fin on top. Looks weird right now with the border. Hang tight, okay? Hang with me. All right, so here we can duplicate this. So we have this. So I'm gonna do Control, I'm gonna click on this and then Control and Alt. Let's try that again. Sometimes it doesn't always work exactly how you want. So I sometimes default to Control C, Control V, but Control plus Alt should work. We're going to put a fin down here. This time we're going to rotate it so it looks a little bit more like this. And then we'll put one in back. And then this one, let's make a little bit bigger. So get that tail going straight up and down. So try and get that close to 90 degrees. And then we'll make this bigger. Hold shift if you want to keep the proportions. You can also hold Alt at the same time. So with shift, it's just going to drag it to the side. If I hold Alt, it's going to keep it in that same center point. With that same center point, it's just going to drag it out bigger. So that was shift and Alt at the same time. All right, so now I have this shape. If I click and drag on this, it's going to select all of those shapes at once. And then I can go to my Pathfinder and I can do Unite, and voila, I've got this new shape right here. So it unites all of my paths. One of these was just a little unaligned, so I'm actually going to move that because it does look kind of off. So I just shifted it down, And then I'm gonna click and drag it again and unite. That looks a little bit better. All right, now we can go and start manipulating this with our direct selection.